Sometimes life gives us lemons. Sometimes it gives us lemonade. Other times it gives us something entirely out of left field that makes us say, WTF. But no matter what obstacles come, there is most often a way out on the other side, and we are once again victorious. My name is Dr. Rowe, and you are listening to my podcast about resilience. Every guest shares a tragedy to triumph story to give listeners like you the inspiration to push through every single day. Listen now as my next guest shares how they were life-jacked.
What do you do when violence seems to constantly afflict you or your family members, causing enormous grief and strife? My name is Dr. Rowe, and this is LifeJacked, the Resilience Podcast. LifeJacked is when an unfortunate or unplanned event happens to jack with your life. My guest for this week, Charlise Smith, will share how she has managed many years of grief and tragedy, from her mother being killed in front of her, to being stabbed herself, to her son passing away after someone gave him fentanyl, to her brother committing suicide this past February. Charlise has over 20 years of experience working in real estate and is the founder of the nonprofit organization WAVE, which is named after her deceased mother. She has been an entrepreneur for over 20 years and is a motivational speaker and life coach. Charlise believes that every woman should tap into their destiny in order to find freedom within. She teaches women who have set up businesses how to prepare for setbacks in business so they can come back in business. Charlise is known for being brutally honest, and because of her transparency, she has impacted many women to now feel safer, loved, and empowered after leaving her presence. Hi, Charlise. Welcome. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. How are you?
Thank you. I am blessed. I'm grateful, happy to be here. And I want to personally say thank you, Dr. Jacobs, for inviting me to talk about myself and share my journey.
Now, of course, I named many tragedies you've experienced, but please take the time to share your story with the listeners.
Absolutely. Again, thank you. My name is Charlise Smith. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, born and raised. I was the only biological child. My mother was murdered in front of me at the age of 3. The reason why she was murdered was she found out that her husband, which was not my biological father, was molesting me at the age of 3. And we had lived in Florida at that time, and she wanted to get me back to Pittsburgh. And when he found out, he murdered her in front of me. Moving forward, I was placed in a home with my aunt and uncle. They were extremely, just physically, mentally, and emotionally abusive. We lived in a very trying and just a very toxic household back then, and which led me to, being a teenage mom, being angry. I didn't see any beauty within myself, and at the age of 17, I got pregnant with my oldest son. I think that was a major change in my life because I didn't have any biological siblings and I didn't have my biological parents. It allowed me to feel like I had something of my own. So that was my drive at the age of 17, just wanting to do something positive for my oldest son. I then had another child, got married. That was very toxic. I ended up divorced, worked on myself for maybe about 10 years, got married in September of 2012. October of 2012, I was a regional manager for a company, and I got stabbed 5 times on the job by a woman who had mental health issues. During that time, I took time off to try to regroup my mental state, and continued to work on my entrepreneur business on the side, but I left my full-time job to try to regroup and try to get my mindset together due to me being stabbed on the job. Fast forward, in October of 2021, I received a phone call that my son, my oldest son, who was my pride and joy, and mind you, he graduated from college May of 2021. He purchased his home on his own, raising his daughter, and I get a call from his girlfriend that he was at her house on the kitchen floor, non-responsive. We were told that someone gave him fentanyl. And then moving forward from that, just February of 2023, I received a text message from my cousin. However, we were raised in the same household, so we looked at each other as siblings, and he had committed suicide. And what we found out is that he had this disease called CTE from playing football, which caused his brain to react differently, and he killed his wife first and then killed himself. And I think it's just been an extremely roller coaster of a life for me. So that's the basis of my story. Yes.
And what a tremendous story. My goodness. It would seem that most people, after going through what you have, they would have just given up. How do you remain positive through all of the pain you have experienced?
I'm going to be honest. It's definitely a journey. It's an ongoing journey. I literally have to lean on God, but truthfully, I also have to do a lot of journaling. I know when my mom died at such a young age, and I was in such an abusive household, I journaled all of my life. Like, that was one of the number one things that kept me going. I would write letters to my mom, or I would write letters to God, because I felt like I did not have anyone else tangibly in this world that I could trust. Now, I will be honest with you and say I did have a supporting family. So I'm not going to say that my aunts and my cousins and my family did not take me in and support me. But when you have a hole that's so deep inside of you that you do not have love that you're looking for from a biological mother or a biological father, there is nothing that anyone could do for me. So the only thing that would help fill some of the pain was my relationship with God. And it was always up and down. You know, I do understand that people say you shouldn't leave from God and etc. That's not my story. And I would be remiss if I would tell somebody, oh, I found God and my life changed. Absolutely not. It has been an ongoing journey. And I remember one day sitting on my steps after having a motorcycle accident. I forgot about that. And I was living by myself. And I remember asking God, I know what it feels like for you to love me. But what I don't know is what real love feels like tangibly in the world. And that's one of the things that I was seeking for, in spite of what the word says, in spite of what the preachers were saying. I know that I needed something that I've never had before, and those were the brutally honest conversations that I was having with God, and just being honest about the dishonesty of my life. I'm trying to navigate, trying to figure out how to build my self-esteem and my self-worth, because, heck, I was called Blackie. I was called all these negative things that really didn't make me feel beautiful about myself, and I began to do things that showed that I didn't feel beautiful about myself. So that was kind of like the journey for me in terms of trying to continue to remain in God's unchanging hand, or remain with this relationship with Him to get through these trials and tribulations.
Now, I love that you mentioned journaling. That's one of the things that I mention often to a lot of my clients that I do resilience coaching with. I even publish a journal myself that you can get on Amazon. How did you know to do that? Because, I mean, journaling can unlock and heal so much for yourself. So how did you know to journal?
During my first marriage, it was very toxic. I was 18. We all talk about that, looking for love in all the wrong places, right? So with this guy, he wasn't healthy, but I wanted it, right? Like my flesh wanted love so bad that I would settle for anything just to figure out this feeling that I was looking for. And I remember in this crazy situation with this guy, and I remember just going in my room and just crying and writing and writing. And once I started writing, I felt a level of release. It wasn't a lot of release, but it was just something. And I just continued and continued. But I would always have these visions, literally, like I'm a visual. So most entrepreneurs, like I'm a ridiculous entrepreneur. It's so embedded in me. And I go off the deep end with my vision. And I would always see myself as a baby standing in the arms of somebody. I never saw their face, so I believed it was God. I believe in my heart that it was like God placing me in his arms from a visual perspective, because here I'm this young girl who never really got hugs as a little girl, who never really got nurtured as a little girl, who had all the negative things being said to me. So in that moment, as I began to write out that little bit of information, this visual came of me being in these arms, and I just continued the journey of just dumping everything that was coming out of my heart and soul. And that's how my journaling journey started.
As Christians, faith, right, is a central theme. And we're taught to have an enormous amount of faith and that have a positive outlook. Because as long as we have faith, and faith in God and faith in the future, that we'll be okay. Have you ever felt angry with God for some of the different things that have happened to you and to others around you? And have you ever felt like sometimes that maybe you were being targeted?
Oh, my goodness. Girl, let me tell you. Oh, man, let me tell you. When my son died, okay, first of all, I thought I was exempt. Let me be honest with you. After me being abused so much, getting beaten, going to school with whelps on my bodies, after seeing my mom get murdered, right? After seeing the physical abuse in my household, after me getting pregnant with my oldest son, too afraid to tell anybody, never received prenatal care, my baby was healthy. God gave me an opportunity to change my life around and be all that I can be for that little boy. I thought I was exempt to having to bury my child. So when I got the call about my child, I was in the twilight zone. I was angry. I couldn't believe it. I was so angry at God. I said, how dare you take my child? I said, you done left me in this world without a mother, a father. I don't know what it is to have a biological sister. I don't know what it is to have a biological brother. I don't know what it is, all the things that everybody else or a lot of my friends and coworkers and watching people, their parents come to see them graduate. And you take my child? I was devastated. I was angry. I saw myself floating away from church. I was beyond angry. Everything else I was able to stomach. For whatever reason, I was able to bounce back. But when that happened, I was done. I was done. And it took a lot for me to really understand how to forgive God for taking my baby. It took a lot for me. It changed my church life. And I'm not going to lie, I'm still in the healing process. This just happened a couple years ago. So it changed a lot, my whole perspective on my relationship with God and how I'm trying to rebuild my relationship with God. I'm not saying I totally left him at all, but I was extremely angry about my child. And have I felt targeted? I don't feel targeted. I just believe that these are the cards that was dealt to me, not for me, but for somebody else. However, God, you have to give me the strength to navigate through all of this if you want my life to be a blessing to somebody else. I got to put the responsibility on him.
I appreciate your transparency and honesty in your faith journey, because it is difficult as Christians to, still feel, faithful and positive and hopeful when we are in these dark places. So I appreciate your transparency and honesty. And I hope the listeners out there and understand that we all have those struggles, whether we are faith-based or not. We all have those struggles, and I think that's what makes us human, and especially if we can authentically say, hey, you know what, sometimes, I'm angry too, and I don't understand it, and it makes me frustrated. You mentioned earlier that you did have a support system, and I'm assuming that as you've gone along, and even if it's just these separate times through these tragedies, has there been anyone who has been a part of your support system, and what is it that they did specifically to help you?
Girl, this question. So,
yes.
Girl, this question. So all my life I've had support based on the ability that people could support me. Based on the ability. And it took me to become an adult to really understand that some people may not have had what I needed for the level of pain that I was in to support me. So in that, one of the number one things, and, some people, who are in church will not agree with what I'm about to say, but I've been in therapy for a very long time. I go and I speak to someone so I can get some of this stuff off of me that the people that I thought could support me can't handle. Number one. But I'm going to be honest with you. Let me go back. My family was there for me to the best of their ability. I graduated from high school. I was able to go on to college, with an associate's degree. I really didn't like school, but I did it anyway. I was able to get my broker's license. So I'm not going to say my family was not there for me. My family was there for me to make sure that I was able to be successful to what they thought was success was, and I'm so forever grateful for them. But when I got into my walk with the Lord and I poured years and years of service into church, and when I paid my tithe, and when I was faithful, and I was ordained as an elder, and I'm helping, and I'm armor bearing, and I'm doing everything in my power to show my faithfulness to the house that I was in, when my child died, my core, after the funeral was over, after my child was buried, my core support system was not the church. My core support system was a group of entrepreneur women who did not want to see me fail. My support system was women and my entrepreneurship colleagues who said, we're going to hold your arms up, and allowed me to walk in meetings and shed a tear because I still had to get up and run our operations. It wasn't the independent contractor. I'm running a full-blown business with employees. Those were my support system in my weakest moment. And I became angry at the church because I'm an elder. I'm not a pew member. I've been there. I taught Bible study. I preached. And I did not feel that I got the support that I thought that I was going to get from my church community.
I love that you said that the people who were part of your support system, but you had to realize that their support was based on their ability to support you. Because I think sometimes we think, they're our closest friends, they are our family members, they are our church community, or even work community. We think I'm with these people on a regular basis. They should support me, but you never think about, do they have the capacity or the ability to really support in the best way that we need them to do?
Correct.
So far, what has your healing journey been like? I know you said you go to therapy currently, which I commend you and applaud you for that. So what is your healing journey?
Oh, good. It shifts. So to be honest, in the beginning, I thought that me having a couple glasses of wine a day was going to fix me when it came to my son. I thought that was a part of the journey, but it was. I had to realize after talking to my therapist of not doing that anymore. She was saying that was a part of the grief process, and sometimes everybody don't agree with it. We don't embrace it, but that was my truth because I didn't know how to embrace the new me. I didn't know how to embrace the cloud of, I'm not going to say it was a negative cloud, but it was a different spiritual realm that I felt like I was living in without my son. My healing journey back in my 20s of journaling and talking to girlfriends and going to my family, and in my 20s was different in my 30s. When in my 30s, I'm thinking, the man that I was married to was a part of my healing journey. And one thing I can say was very consistently, I picked up my Bible. I don't know what anybody else picked up, but I was always consistent in that healing journey. And I realized in my 40s, even, when I got stabbed and going through all of that, it was church. So that was a part of my healing process, or that was a part of my journey. But now, full transparency, my healing journey right now is me truly getting a deeper revelation of my relationship with God versus church being, I'm just going to church, and I'm not taking anything away from it because I still go to church, but I think sometimes I've learned to do things out of habit, and I've learned how to do those things, and those things carried me, so I embrace the carry. I embrace it, but I think now because of the detrimentalness of my son and just the core of pain, I am really leaning on this new revelation or this new built relationship with God. Like, it doesn't bother me if I miss a Sunday not going to church, but that doesn't mean that I'm not in relationship with God. So this healing journey for me now is like still doing the tools that I did in the past, but now I've added another layer of deeper meditation. I've added another layer of seeking to do something for somebody daily. I've added another layer of pouring my pain in a positive way to impart some goals and objectives into others. And I think the shift of my maturity and my relationship with God is on a different journey, and I'm still discovering what this new journey of healing is like, because I'm healing. Like before, I couldn't even talk about this stuff, especially these last two incidents, but now I'm starting to see the love that God is like pouring in me to be able to pour out into others. And I think that's what's so unique about our relationship with him, my relationship with him, because I can be honest with him and say, this is the real deal. Like you say, you my father, so let's really talk about some questions that I have for you, because I'm a little confused right now. So the journey is just ongoing for me. You know, I get up and I meditate more now. I get up, I'll go to the gym every now and then, not as much as I used to out of a habit, but I've learned to just embrace each day differently instead of building my life on a routine, because I'm good at a routine. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think I've surrendered on another level to allow the Holy Spirit, my God, my journey to like show me different ways of walking and embracing my new life.
Well, it sounds like you have definitely done the work for your healing journey. Speak to the listeners about your nonprofit organization, WAVE.
Yes. This organization, again, was a part of my healing process. The organization is called Lisa's Agency for Vision and Empowerment. It's a nonprofit organization which was named after my mom. Our goal is we create housing and economic stability for individuals through personal empowerment, life skill improvement, problem solving, and wealth building. And I took my real estate background and I built a nonprofit in the real estate industry from a holistic approach. And we really tap into how your insides will have you make financial decisions externally, and the trauma behind our finances and the trauma behind how we live, and just really providing information to families in low to moderate income communities around real estate and the effects that it can have on you if you don't make the right financial decisions.
So now you do motivational speaking. How did you decide to get into that? Because that's a very brave thing to do, is to get up and speak in front of people. So how did you decide to begin becoming a motivational speaker?
What happened, a lot of people would call me, to be honest with you, and have issues, and the Holy Spirit will like literally give me solutions for people impromptu. That's why it has been very hard for me to create all of these programs that everybody talk about, because my journey has never been that way. And I've always been able to connect with entrepreneurs and women. And when I recognize that, and when I recognize my journey through all the trauma that I've gone through, it really allowed me to want to participate and teach and speak and motivate, especially individuals who live in low to moderate income communities. At one time, I was a property management years ago, and the women would come in my office and they would be extremely depressed or didn't have any hope, or I would do inspections and their homes were in deplorable conditions, and you could tell that they were depressed. And so I always wanted to tap into those individuals to provide them hope, to let them know that if I can make it through, you can make it through as well. And when I would go down to the Allegheny County Jail and speak to the ladies down there, which is a county jail here in Pittsburgh, I knew that their story was no different than mine. And so I started asking God, okay, I've been through all this trauma. How did I not end up in jail? How did I not end up strung out on drugs? And that was my driving force of wanting to empower individuals who came from traumatic experiences as I did.
When you speak to women and inspire them or help them, how does that make you feel?
I think that's a part of, again, when I speak to the women and try to inspire them, I think that is me allowing God to use me to continue to allow me to heal on my journey. And also when I see the tears of the women or individuals that I'm speaking with and see that glimpse of hope, and I'm when I speak to them on their level so that they don't think, here's this entrepreneur thinking that she has it all together. I think that it makes me feel good to let them know my journey and my story so that they know that there is a way out of their circumstances and situations. So it makes me feel amazing to know that I've given something back to people who have gone through the things that I've gone through.
You talk often about having gratitude. What does that mean to you exactly?
You know, as traumatic as my life is, I'm still grateful. I don't have to have several businesses. I don't have to get up every day and be able to look at the sun. The woman who stabbed me 5 times had mental health issues. I am grateful that I don't have mental health issues. So in spite of all the trauma that I've gone through, I try not to have a pity party. I do feel what I need to feel, but I'm grateful that I'm able to bounce back from a lot of the trials and tribulations that I've gone through. And so I do a gratitude list every day, because at any given moment, due to all the trauma that I've gone through, mental stress and strain can really tap into my mind. And when it does, I immediately have to pull out my gratitude list or my little gratitude prayer box to keep myself moving from day to day.
Well, Charlise, you are definitely strong and resilient, and I commend you for understanding that you have to do the work. In order for you to heal, you do need to go to therapy, that you also have to have a maturation process a part of your journey. And so I appreciate you for being vulnerable and sharing your story with the listeners.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Yes. In your opinion, what are the best ways to build resilience?
For me, just being brutally honest about where I'm at. That's the number one thing for me. Because if I lie or if I act like I got it all together and I'm sitting here in pain, I'm not doing anything but defeating the purpose. So my number one thing is own where I am. Own it and embrace it. Because once I own it and embrace it, I can really tap into the different feelings that I'm having. I can tap into the honesty of what may be going on with me. And once I do that, it allows something about the universe. It allows the tools to be opened up for me to begin to deal with the issues. If I don't deal with the issues, there will never be resilience. If I don't recognize that I am moving too far off the deep end, then I won't have room for resilience. I literally have to turn my life over, not have control of the situation, and embrace the process. of growing and maturing in every obstacle that has come my way. And to be honest with you, pouring my pain into building something has been the greatest resilience key that I have ever done. Building that nonprofit from the ground up with no money, taking it from one $15,000 grant to now we're at $1 million in grants and fundraising has been my coping mechanism of resilience. Creating programs for individuals who are dealing with fentanyl now, has given me the strength to build resilience. Creating programs now dealing with CTE, this thing that really affects football stars, has been resilience for me. So I have learned to just take the pain and just build something from it. I may not always know what it looks like, but I'm willing to do the work. And building resilience, you have to be willing. You have to have that person or two people that you can talk to and say, hey, this is where I really am, and not being strong every day and shedding tears when you need to. The more we empty ourselves, the better we are building resilience. The more we keep things internally, the longer we delay our process of growth, take ourselves into heart attacks, begin overeating, begin doing things that are so toxic to our mind, body, and souls. So building resilience for me is strictly and being very honest about who I am and owning where I'm at so that God can take control and do what he needs to do in myself and within me.
Well, Charlise, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. Can you take the time to let everyone know how they can contact you for speaking engagements, or if they would like to donate to your foundation, WAVE?
Absolutely. My website for my speaking engagements is www.charlisesmith.com. Again, www.charlisesmith.com. You can reach me there. You can reach me on Facebook if you look me up under Charlise Smith. If you would like me to speak and or do one-on-one, either one-on-one coaching program, I can provide those services as well as our nonprofit organization is waveoflife.org. That is www.waveoflife.org. Our office number is 412-573-9217. So you can reach me there.
Any last words of encouragement?
Absolutely. Just catch your wave of hope. Stay focused. Trials come to make you stronger. And as long as you get up and put one foot in front of the other, you have a chance to allow the universe, to allow God to truly change your life and your perspective on the negative forces that sometimes come against us. So please, everyone, keep your head up. If I can do it, you can do it as well. And I am very grateful to have this opportunity to pour into you.
Well, Charlise, I wish you and your family nothing but blessings and abundance. Please take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You've reached the end of another episode of Life Jacked, the Resilience Podcast. Connect with me at www.lifejackedpodcast.com. Don't forget to sign up to the blog so you won't miss any events or episodes. And every now and then, I'll give away free materials from my guests or from me. Remember to live, laugh, love, learn, and then repeat. See you in the next episode.